We're about to get started. So, before I forget, turn off your phone, please. We're going to have buzzers going off everywhere. I'm Mike Stockton. I'm publisher of the News Graphic, and thank you all for showing up here today. And I want to show appreciation to the library. They are the co-hosts for this event. I want to just explain a couple quick things. As a News Graphic, we've done this for about 30 years now, and it's sort of become a tradition. So we're real proud to continue that opportunity. We appreciate the candidates participating. I ask that you be respectful to the candidates. Okay, this is hard. Okay, and it's hard to stand up in front of people, be asked questions and stuff. So be respectful of the candidates. A couple of other quick things. I want to mention that tonight it's good to see. He's out here somewhere. The mayor back amongst us. Mayor. This is probably the last chance I get to talk publicly, but except in the newspaper. But Tom is he's put in about 4 decades, I think, of public service. So I just want to tell him publicly how much we appreciate your service to the community. Our moderator tonight is going to be David Thompson. He's executive director of the Kentucky Press Association. He was a publisher at one time of the New York Times, News and Times.
New York Times.
Our predecessor. And I say he's a New York native. So, New York native. Where am I coming from? Georgetown native. I guess I would leave it to the north. Anyway, David will be our moderator. We will have a timer over there. The way this will work is they will each have a time. This will not be a debate, okay? We call it a debate sort of, but it's going to be more like a forum. And the reason it's not a debate is there won't be any rebuttals, okay? It'll just be, they'll be asked the questions and they'll answer, okay? It's just going to be real straightforward. So clarification. We will be broadcasting it on Facebook Live, so just keep that in mind as you go forward. All right, I'm going to turn it over to David, and I'm going to shut up and figure out my geography. And again, thank you for coming.
Thank you, Mike. Before we begin, I too want to thank Tom Crater for his decades of service. Tom, I know your mother and father, knew your mother and father, and know that they would be very proud of all that you have done as a city council member, as a fiscal court member, and more recently as mayor of Georgetown. So thank you for the service and commitment that you gave to this community. To begin the debate, let me explain that a few moments ago we flipped a coin with the two candidates. Bernie Jenkins won the coin toss. He elected to go first in the opening statement, and then conversely will be the last to go in the closing statements. We will begin with Bernie Jenkins on his opening statements. Bernie.
Thank you very much. My name is Bernie Jenkins. For those who don't know me, I'm Bernie Jenkins. And for those who do know me, I'm Bernie Jenkins. I am so grateful to be here this evening, and that for the 50 years that I have been here, coming here in 1972, I have had the privilege of being in this community and taking part in this community, which has afforded me the word I want to look for is the great part of being able to take part of this and being a contributor to this, to where I was able to, for 46 years, being in education, 50 years of sports officiating, and also in many other activities that I've done. In 46 years, I've raised a lot of kids here. David Jones was one of them. Todd Stone was another. Joe Pat Covenant was another. They turned out all right. In spite of me, they turned out all okay. I can remember a story on Todd and Joe Pat. They played football for me. And at Georgetown Middle School, and when I wanted to get their attention, it was something that they weren't doing. So I did what we call an intervention. Of course, Todd was big even when he was in 7th grade. So I would get him by the face mask and kind of bring him down to, and get on their level. And I would ask a question to them. Explain to me why this big ugly guy is laying on top of my quarterback and you're supposed to be the guy supposed to be blocking. I said, Coach, I'll do better next time. I said, okay. Those are type of memories that I have here of Georgetown. I love this town. I love this community when I walked on here, came here in 1972. And I have not stopped loving it yet. And as of today, I see there are changes that we need to do. And as mayor of this city, I want to be the person to facilitate those changes so we can do what's best for people here in this city. Thank you.
David Leslie.
Hello, Georgetown. I'm David Lusty. Can you hear me okay?
Before we get started, can I ask everybody to sort of move a little bit closer so we get a few more chairs out? We're out here in the crowd. Okay. Are those 2 seats used? Don't come up here. Sorry. We've got 3 up here. Okay. We've got 3 up here, 2 up here. Chairs.
Hello, Georgetown. David, you ready? Yes, sir. All right. Hello, Georgetown. I'm David Lusby, and I'm married to Joy Lusby, the principal at Great Crossing High School. I have 3 daughters, Morgan, Emily, and Lauren Lusby. I'm running for mayor of Georgetown because I believe that experience counts when asking the citizens to support and vote for Georgetown's next mayor. I have the knowledge and the ability to lead Georgetown into the future. I've been fortunate to serve on the Georgetown City Council for the past 29 years. Our community is one of Kentucky's fastest growing and will continue to grow into the future. I believe responsible growth is the key to maintaining our quality of life. Responsible growth is recognizing and planning for future challenges and opportunities. My vision for our future means working with our strategic partners. Georgetown and Scott County have a history of working together. I plan to continue that spirit of cooperation. Our partners include the Scott County Fiscal Court, the Scott County School System, Georgetown College, BCTC, all the many volunteer and nonprofit organizations here in our community that help us be so successful today. Our city employees are a vital part of making Georgetown a great community in which to live and raise our families. I always have and I always will support our city employees, and I pledge to work with our Georgetown City Council members, whom I know so well. This is an important election. I know Georgetown city government inside and out. I'm a lifelong resident of Georgetown. I have relationships not only at the local level, but with the state as well. And I look forward to building on those relationships as your next mayor. Like the mayors that have come before me, I want to make Georgetown a better place for its residents to live, a better place to raise a family, a better place for businesses to do business, a better place for our visitors to visit. I want our guests to talk about what a wonderful place Georgetown is to live, work, and play. And of course, I want our guests to keep coming back for more of everything that we have to offer. And finally, I'd like to ask for your vote as Mayor of Georgetown.
Thank you, David. Our first question will go to Bernie Jenkins. Bernie, it's a little bit of a two-part question. Do you have any experience holding an elected office? If so, what position was it? And if not, what assurance can you give voters that you can be an effective mayor?
I've never held a elected position. Do you need a seat? But my 46 years in education, as a school teacher, as an educator, as principal, also in sports officiating, which I've done. I've been administrator of that, not just at the local level, but at the state level, and even on the national level. I've been on many different committees and also been in part that made rules that we play by for sports, also rules that we use in the classroom, and rules that we use for state important items, such as the things of, what I'm looking for is that impact student improvement as well as student success. I can assure you I can do this job. My 46 years, not only in education, but also as a contributor, as a taxpayer, as a lifelong citizen here, and knowing the people here, I can lead, because that's what a mayor is. A mayor is a leader, and I'm that. I can assure you I can be the leaders you want that will bring Georgetown to where it is and take it farther, for not just for this generation, but looking down the road for the next generation. Thank you.
David, you are a successful developer with multiple property holdings and businesses. How do you plan to conduct business as mayor when city business may conflict with one or more of your private businesses?
Occasionally, there are conflicts that the city council does run into. I'd say that almost all the city council members at one time or another have recused themselves or abstained if there was a conflict. As mayor, you're really not voting on issues very often unless there was a tie vote, a 4-4 vote, which is extremely rare. If a situation did arise, I would certainly recuse myself. I've done that in the past, and I would certainly do that in the future.
Following up on that, David, how do you answer questions that you have used your position as a council member to build your businesses?
David, I started in real estate when I was in college. I was 19 years old. I attended Morehead State University and obtained my real estate license. I minored in real estate, obtained my real estate license. I did an internship in real estate. I started my professional real estate career 35 years ago. I've been passionate about what I do, and I have been successful. I've done projects not just here in Georgetown, but throughout central Kentucky. And those, I'm not involved with city government in any of those other communities. So.
Thank you. Bernie, you have actively campaigned on change. If elected mayor, what changes do you anticipate making?
One change is being transparent. What's it look like? Get involving the citizens as to what you're doing, when it comes to business of government. Letting the people know prior to any decision that you make, what you're gonna do. And then communicate that to them. Not just sitting in the office, but actually going out like I'm doing now and campaigning, do the same thing when I talk with people. Face to face. Getting input from them so they can help me make a good decision that's going to affect them.
Okay, gentlemen, these following questions, both of you will be addressed and will answer them. I want to begin with a question following up on what Ms. Bernie talked about. Trust in government is one of the biggest concerns that we see in Georgetonians, Kentuckians, especially in America. How can you ensure the voters that your city government, if elected mayor, will be transparent and open?
Well, one thing about being transparent and open is that you will be able to come and talk to us. We're not going to have any locked doors. We're going to open up to where you can come in and talk to me if you got a concern. And you're right, David, from the national level, state level, and local level. A lot of people don't have a great thing to say about politics in government. They don't trust it. And it's because that we are not transparent enough that we don't get out and talk with them. So as mayor, that's one of my primary things to do that, is to get out and actually talk with people. And to assure them that what we are doing is in the best interest for them.
David, the same question to you.
Okay. David, everything we do is in the public's eye. The news graphic attends each and every one of our meetings, or they're watching it remotely. Every decision we make is open to the public. The meetings are recorded, they're streamed, everything ends up in the newspaper. We have attorneys that are on our staff that are watching everything we do. We've always been transparent. There's not an issue with transparency at the city level or at the county level in this community.
Thank you. For both of you, we'll begin with David. In your opinion, what is your greatest strength that will serve you as mayor?
There's no question the experience that I have over the past 29 years of working with city government. In addition to the 29 years of being involved with city government, I have 28 years in banking. I own personal businesses. So there are a combination of things that I feel allow me to serve this community. I've worked with 4 different mayors over 4 different decades. Like I said, for the past 29 years, I've learned from each and every one of those mayors. They all had different qualities, strong qualities. And you learn from your mistakes as well. We've been through some tough times. We went through a recession. 2008, 9, and 10 was a very challenging time. Mayor Sames was in office, and there were difficult decisions that we had to make. You learn from those challenges, and I have, and I look forward to serving as mayor and utilizing some of those skills that I've obtained over the past 29 years.
Bernie, for you, in your opinion, what is your greatest strength that will serve you as mayor?
My strong suit, I believe, is my leadership. And my ability to teach, my ability to communicate, and my ability to work with any diverse group. To bring everybody to the table, to do what we think is best for this community. Now, do I know everything? No. Am I going to make some mistakes? Probably. But I hope to learn from those mistakes, which I've done the first time I did as a teacher, the first time I did as a sports official, and the first time I did in anything I did in my life. I believe, and I still believe, that communication is one of the biggest components of helping a community to be successful as a leader, as mayor.
Bernie, conversely, what is your greatest weakness that will challenge you as a mayor?
Learning the ins and outs of local government. But I'm going to surround myself with good people. Because we have good people that's down there. I met them. And they're pretty sharp. So you rely on them to give you information that you can use to make good decisions that will benefit every citizen in this community.
David, what is your greatest weakness that will challenge you as mayor?
Public speaking. But I promise to work on it, and I will improve.
David, in your opinion, what is the greatest single issue facing Georgetown over the next 4 years?
You know, each and every election, Mike Scoggin asked us that question. He asked the council to share what do we think our biggest concern is. And it almost always relates to our finances, managing the budget. We have a $30 million budget. We have almost 200 employees. Understanding the budget. With me being involved in local government for 29 years, I've served on the finance committee most of that time. I've been either the chairperson or co-chair of the finance committee for most of that time. And right now we have strong reserves, but it's something that you have to watch, you have to understand, you have to manage, you have to navigate. There's a lot that goes into it, but managing the city's finances, that responsibility is significant.
Bernie, for you, what is the greatest single issue facing Georgetown over the next 4 years?
Managing growth. As we found out, we were one of the fastest growing counties in the state. And we have to make sure that, as mayor, that we and the council are all invested in making sure that our resources, water, fire, police services, first responders, EMTs, not to get so far ahead that we cannot provide those basic services to this community. And that we may even have to come up with an idea of impact fees for development. That way they have an invested stake in the game. So they're not building and then all of a sudden getting the money and leave. As mayor, also take an active role in the planning and zoning, attend meetings, making sure that we have a plan for the next 4 years, and that we're not building so much that we can't keep up.
Hey, Bernie, it's your turn, and I'm following up on something that you mentioned. The number of first responder employees, police and fire, as well as pay and benefits, has been another challenge for Georgetown government. Mayor Prather and the most recent city council took some steps to address the issue, but many believe work remains to be done. Do you agree or disagree, and why?
Oh yes, I agree. We have to figure out a way, because, you know, to keep them here, we're going to have to pay to keep them here. We have, as a council, as a mayor, come up with some creative ways and actually be competitive to where we can keep our responders here. Have a plan. Maybe coming up where we are, and I talked with several of the constituents about this, and even the police chief as well as the fire chief. Come up with a plan maybe to, when they need for services, if they need 3 officers a year, find a way to budget within that so that we can keep up with our growing. But that is a major problem that we have, and as mayor, we're going to continue to do that, to make sure that we can keep our first responders, police and fire here and provide protection of our citizens here.
David, do you need me to repeat the question?
I don't believe so. I mean, I lived it. We made huge strides in increasing pay for our emergency responders. In 2019 was the first step with the police, fire, and the 911 dispatch. We increased police officer pay by $8,600 over about a 2-year period. And we did that because we did a wage analysis. We compared Georgetown and Scott County to 17 other communities. And we realized that we were in the lower spectrum of that study. So we took steps. As I said, we increased the police officer pay by about $8,600. Firefighter pay went up $11,900. So those are huge steps. We identified the problem, but more will need to be done. There's no question. We are competing with other communities, and it's a challenge. It's a challenge, and I can take it a step further. We put in place a 911 fee, and I know not everybody likes to talk about fees or taxes, nor do I. We've kept Georgetown's taxes very low, as you may know, over the past 30 years. But the 911 fee allowed us to structurally give the raises to the police, fire, and 911. It generated about $1.2 million per year. That was the only way that we could put the pay increases in place.
David, back to you to answer the question. For years, Georgetown's government has been unable to address the stormwater issue. Do you agree that stormwater is a problem? And if so, how do you plan to address it?
It is absolutely a problem. Our community has $82 million worth of stormwater improvements in the ground. Obviously, Georgetown's been here for a couple hundred years, and the stormwater improvements that you don't think about have to be managed and maintained. They deteriorate, they fill up with sediment, they have to be cleaned, they have to be replaced. A lot of communities have a stormwater management fee, and that is a possibility. That's something that we have been looking into with Strand Engineering out of Lexington. They specialize in this type of work, so a stormwater management fee would be an option to help us manage and deal with our stormwater problems here in this community, because we certainly have one.
Bernie, do you agree that stormwater is a problem, and if so, how do you plan to address it?
Well, that's one thing I can agree with David, that, to look at exactly what we're doing to improve that. And again, we have people in government that will be very good at figuring out with the water company and others where we can get together and again, address the issue of coming up with a form or a way in which we can stop that and do that. Again, me not knowing the particulars of that, that's something I'm going to work on as mayor, is to find out what we've got there, what's in place, what has been working with that, and try to improve with that.
Bernie, you're first on this question. Sewer capacity is not an attractive subject, but certainly one Georgetown government has had to face in recent years. What is your assessment of how GMWSS has managed increasing sewer capacity over the last 2 years, and what do you believe needs to happen to enable the city to continue to provide adequate sewer capacity for the community?
That is one of the basic that's one of the basic services that we have to provide. And to do that, we have to make sure that we have good, clean, quality water. And to do that, we have to look at structurally where the water's coming in. And we have some issues even out there with the trailer park, where we have a junction coming in on the Scott County side, but also we have the issue with the portion on the Fayette County side using the same facility. And that's something we have to address, not just with council, but we may have to address it with Lexington and to find out with that. But As mayor, I'm going to work hard with the Georgetown Water Department and come up with some ways which we can continue to do, find better ways in which to do that.
Hey, Bernie, you will go first on this. You both have mentioned about Scott County being one of the fastest, if not the fastest. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. You need me to repeat the question.
I know, I'm familiar with the issue, as I think most people in this room are. GRW did the design work for our water and sewer company, and unfortunately, some of the engineering wasn't designed to the standards that it needed to be. And it was discovered early on in the project, but there's still a cost associated with that. It's about a $15 million additional cost. The court system says that if the project had been engineered correctly to begin with, there would have been some additional costs to the project. So that money potentially is off the table for us. Let me give you an example. $50 million project, if it had been designed correctly, could have cost $55 million. Let's just, I'm using these hypothetical numbers. GRW has $5 million worth of liability insurance that we obviously plan to go after, but there still is that gap. And how do we go after? We are going to go after. We're going to try. What we've learned from this, however, is going forward, the water company is going to request a higher liability coverage on insurance, which is important. What happened in this community is extremely rare. I mean, they're not aware of another situation in the state of Kentucky. Unfortunately, their firm had the responsibility lied on one person, and there needed to be another set of eyes on it potentially. But that's the way that it simply works. And to elaborate a little bit more on the sewer, Lexington did partner with Georgetown and Scott County. They contributed $450,000 towards the sewer line going to the trailer park. So that is a priority issue, and it is being taken care of.
David, you will go first on this. Both of you mentioned the fact that Scott County is one of the fastest growing, if not the fastest growing counties in the state. And as a lifelong resident here, I can tell you that I've seen Georgetown go from about 5,000 population to what we are today. Given the fact that we're among the fastest growing cities and have been for more than 2 decades, where do you see Georgetown over the next 10 years?
Well, it's certainly going to continue to grow. Our community has a comprehensive plan, and the comprehensive plan is the key to growth in our community. And the comprehensive plan, it's the people's plan. It's your plan. Every 5 years, by state statute, we have to come together and we have to update this plan. This plan helps us decide where that growth is going to take place in the community. As I said, it's the people's plan. It finally gets confirmed by the fiscal court, by planning and zoning, and by the city council. But it is clearly the community's plan. We are an economic engine, an economic driver for the state of Kentucky. We're important to the state. And the growth in this community, the economic growth is not just important to us, but it's important to the state.
Bernie, where do you see Georgetown over the next 10 years?
I see Georgetown as being a growth-wise very strong. But also I see that in 10 years that we will need to make sure that again, our services that we're supposed to provide is not lacking. And that I also see in the 10 years down the road that the plan that David was talking about is a people's plan, but I want to make sure that the people actually see that plan and actually take part in making it. We can say that, we can say it's on a committee or give it to committee to do it, but I'd like to see everyday people that actually will see this plan and have some input as to where we're going. And that making sure that we have what we need, where we're going, why we're going there, And if they have some disagreement with that, they have the right to do that. They have the right to say, maybe we need to slow down and think about something about this. So I am very proactive on making sure people get involved in growth decisions that affect this community.
Bernie, a few weeks ago, the Georgetown News Graphic published an article comparing the Georgetown Fire Department and the Scott County Fire Department amidst consideration of a study to merge the two departments. Where do you stand on a possible merger between the two departments and why?
Again, we have to ensure that we protect people here. And if merging is the way we can do it, then that will be something we need to look at. Now, for me to tell you that that's going to be a great idea to merge these, I don't know. Because if we're able to continue to provide services with no issues, okay. But if we're not, if we're short-handed and we can't keep enough fire and people here to take care of basic services here, then we may have to merge to make that happen, to ensure that people here are protected.
David?
I did see the article, and I'm very receptive to having an independent group come in and do an evaluation and study. That did happen in the past, and I think now would be a good time to revisit that. I think that we need to look at all options when it comes to either improving services or being more efficient, and potentially this could be a way to do that. We've had those discussions, one of the benefits that this community has, we don't just have an interlocal agreement, we have an automatic aid in Georgetown and Scott County, which means Scott County has their fire departments, the Georgetown Fire Department, or the city has their fire departments. So whoever can respond the quickest and most efficient way, they're going to respond. So we're blessed to have two full-time fire departments. A lot of communities have a volunteer fire department in the county and full-time in the city. But we're very fortunate in that regard. Not only that, I'll share this with you. When I came on the city council, we had an ISO rating. That's your insurance rating. It tells you how you rank. And when I came on the city council, we were at a 4, and today we're at a 2. So that's what that results in is savings to anyone that pays insurance. It's a benefit to this community. So we've done a very good job of upgrading our fire departments and then working with the automatic aid agreement.
David, what is your opinion on growth in all sectors of the city's economy, residential, retail, commercial, and industrial?
That's a great question. So when Toyota they announced in December of 1985 that they were coming to Georgetown, our trajectory changed forever. And what we learned was that when you have industrial growth come into a community to the magnitude that Toyota brought, there's going to be residential growth to follow that. It's just, when you have 8,000 employees, that's going to happen. Once you have the residential growth, then you move on into the medical and the retail type growth. And I've been involved with the retail type growth. Many retailers are waiting for Georgetown to get even larger. People ask us, well, why can't we have a certain restaurant? And we've tried to bring certain restaurants to Georgetown, but quite honestly, the demographics just weren't where they needed them to be. They needed more rooftops, they needed more traffic count. They know that we're going to get there, and we are. And David Lusby and Mr. Jenkins can't control that. That, like I said earlier, our trajectory changed forever when Toyota decided to come to Georgetown.
Bernie, your opinion on the growth in all sectors of the economy, residential, retail, commercial, and industrial?
Again, when I came here in 1972, it wasn't very much here, like David, wasn't very much here. But when Toyota came, it did change things. But I believe that we have to ensure that we take a close look at growth and making sure that we are not behind on making sure that things are done correctly. I mentioned earlier the impact fee to ensure that will make a revenue so that we can use that money for other things. Also, I talked a little bit about making sure that our businesses that have been here for long periods of time, that they're able to understand the growth, and we can make sure that we are helping them in this growth, that they're not left behind. And finally, growth is something that, as David said, we can't really control, but we can help manage it.
Bernie, in your opinion, are we a community where people want to live, work, and play? If so, how do we remain that way? And if not, why not?
I came here in 1972 as a freshman. I love this town, and I stayed here because of this town, because of the people, because of the opportunities, and because of the fact that it gave me a chance to get involved in so many ways. Yes, I think people want to come here. On my campaign trail, I've met a lot of people who just recently moved to Georgetown. And their biggest takeaway that I took away from this was that it is a very good community with good people. Now, we still need some restaurants that's going to cater to our youth as well as our families. We need other recreational things that will do that. But as for a town of this size, it is a great place to be.
David, the change from public works to using a private company? Sorry, it's all right. Repeating the question, we're a community where people want to live, work, and play. If so, how do we remain that way? If not, why not?
Okay, that's a great question. In the profession that I've been in for the past 28 years, being in banking, helping people relocate to Georgetown, they share with me what a wonderful community this is, and some of the things that appeal to them are the low tax rates that we have here in this community, and they appreciate the services that we provide. And then when you talk about real estate, what's the most important thing in real estate? It's location, location, location. We're blessed. We've got a wonderful location, not just in the state of Kentucky, but really here in the United States in terms of logistics, shipping things to the masses. As you know, we are one of the fastest growing communities, but you may not know, we're also the youngest community in the state of Kentucky from a demographic standpoint, except for Campbell. The military communities are younger than we are. So what that tells us is that parks and recreation, things that attract young people are important. They're important to me, and those are things that I want to continue to work with, continue to build upon, and continue to improve. Beautification projects are important to me, coming off the interstate, trying to improve how we live there. There's room for improvement. We've made some great progress, but there's room to go.
Hey, David, the change from public works to using a private company for garbage collection has not gone as smoothly as the city had hoped. What is your opinion of that change, and how do you propose the city continue to address the concerns and issues?
Probably the most important thing to realize is that the landfill that we were taking our solid waste to, it closed. You know, the county residents mostly, our community wanted it closed from a majority standpoint. So we were forced to make a decision, and we did. We had to put it out for bid, and we went with the best overall bid, which was from Republic. It was the best, the cheapest. The price is $15.68, and that includes curbside recycling, which has been a goal of ours for quite some time. Anytime you make a dramatic change, a paradigm shift in how you do something, there's gonna be some bumps. People don't like change, and I get that. But I talk to people every day that haven't had any problems. You hear from the ones that do, and I sympathize for those people. We want to help those. We opened up our lines at City Hall, we took the calls, we had a contact at Republic to try to help facilitate those issues. Our Public Works Department, who I think is second to none, got involved, and they would do anything that they needed to do to try to help the residents here in our community. What do we do going forward? Republic is coming in. They're giving us an evaluation every 6 months. We're going to sit down and they're going to come to the council meeting. They're going to talk to us. They're going to give us updates. And they've already shown us that the calls, the concern calls, have gone down dramatically. You can't make a change of that magnitude without having some issues. But we're going to continue to monitor it. It's a 5-year commitment, and then we can certainly put it out for bid, literally 4 years from now. So, that's it.
Bernie, to you, the change from Public Works to using a private company for garbage collection has not gone as smoothly as the city had hoped. What is your opinion of that change, and how do you propose the city continue to address the concerns and issues?
As a constituent of this community, I wish somebody had told us that was going to happen. I wish that somebody from council, mayor, somebody communicate that we are thinking about doing this. Getting some input from these people. Because when you get input from people in this community, you're going to find out what kind of concerns they have for this. I can take firsthand that, yeah, I've had a couple problems with trash not being picked up. Matter of fact, it was 3 weeks before my trash got picked up. Not just once, but 3 separate times. I made a call to them. Said, we'll get you on the next time. To me, that's not good. If you can imagine 3 weeks of trash piled up on my street, it's not good. What I propose we do, we're going to meet with Republic and also have what we call a correction action plan. That we talk with constituents, come up with some areas of concern, bring these to Republic, put them in a timeline that says we need these to be worked on and corrected. And actually communicate that to the public, to let them know that we are addressing this issue.
Bernie, and then David, in an effort to promote greater openness and transparency within our city government, would you be in favor of the mayor and council disclosing all financial and business contracts between the city and any business relationship? Why or why not?
Yes, that's not my money. It's the people's money. And they gotta know, they should know how we are spending their money. And we need to make sure, again, about transparency. People will appreciate more when you let them know what you're doing and why you're doing that. And give them an opportunity for them to actually respond to that in some way.
David, same question?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, we fill out, not sure exactly what they're called, but there's some kind of a disclosure that lays out exactly what you may be involved in. So, I mean, that's already being done. Everything we do is transparent. If somebody wants a copy of a contract or any document, they simply have to, I guess, do a public records request, and information is available. So we're very transparent now. I don't see that being an issue.
David, how would you approach working with county government?
County government, we're blessed to have an amazing relationship and a spirit of cooperation, and that goes back a very long way. And we've got to give Judge Lesby, who's here tonight, and Mayor Prather, who is here tonight, credit for building upon that spirit of cooperation. Today, Joe Pat Covington, whom I went to high school with, grew up with, played sports with, We have a great relationship. I have a very good relationship with, I believe, everybody on the fiscal court. That is a huge asset to this community. A lot of other communities are envious and jealous of the relationship that we have with city and county government. And all I want to do is improve it, because what that does is that saves the community money. We have interlocal agreements where we work together, and it's just simply a huge benefit to our community.
Bernie, how would you approach working with county government?
Like I said, I talked your back. So, I have no problem working with county government. In looking at some of the ideas and projects that they have put together, there are some dual service where both are actually putting funds in together to sponsor different things like A-Man House or even Parks and Rec. Anytime that we can get together and work together to benefit the people of this entire county. Because just because you live in Georgetown, going out to the county, you're affected. And even out in the county, you're still affected because of the service that we provide here. And I want to continue that relationship with the fiscal court where we're able to do what's best for Georgetown and continue in its growth.
Okay, take a little lighthearted approach here. Bernie, what is something about yourself you wish Georgetown residents knew that they may not know now?
Well, do you have, let's see, what time we get done, 7:30? Okay. Something about me that
You wish Georgetown residents knew that they may not know now?
I am a pet lover. And my dog, Gracie, she's my girl. She's my riding buddy. And I've seen, if you looked on Facebook a few times, see her in her goggles. She rides shotgun with me everywhere I go. But seriously, there's really nothing about me that people don't know about me. I really don't. I'm just about to be light on it. Because I've been here a long time. People know that I love sports. People know that I try to play golf. I try to. I keep trying to. Not as good as David. I keep trying to.
David?
That's an interesting question. Quite honestly, it could be the fact that growing up here in Georgetown, I was diagnosed with dyslexia, and it was it made school a challenge. Fortunately, my mom she insisted that I do tutoring, and she even had ladies in the community that helped tutor me. We drive to Nicholasville for special tutoring, and it was a challenge to keep up. You get made fun of, with your schoolmates when you're trying to either read or speak, publicly like this. After graduating from Scott County, I decided to go to Morehead State. Morehead State was a smaller school, and they could give me a little bit of additional attention that I might need. That's when I took some real estate classes. I loved real estate, and decided to get my license and minor in real estate. I played on the golf team at Morehead State. It was a Division I school, and I had a golf coach whose philosophy was if you want to beat your competition, you have to outwork them. You don't have to be any smarter than your competition, but you need to outwork them. You need to put more time in than they do. You need to work harder than they do. And that was the same philosophy that my mom had. And that was, I think that's what has helped me most in life.
Right. Gentlemen, touching on the subject we did a couple of minutes ago, whose responsibility, David, you will answer this first, whose responsibility is it when renters move from a property and leave piles of trash? Republic is not going to be responsible, and Lexington property owners are called by a are cited by code enforcement, and then the property owners have 10 days to clean it up. In Georgetown, after 10 days, the city's amazing public works crew is eventually dispatched to clean it up. Any chance the city government would consider reducing the time property owners have to get things cleaned up so that their neighbors don't have to look at the trash for weeks and weeks?
Yeah, David, that's a good question. I mean, there might be a legal timeline that needs to be met here. I honestly, I'm just not sure. That's something I'll be glad to take a look at. I'm all about beautification. I'm all about keeping the community clean. And I certainly believe that if it's left and the public can't take care of it, that our public works should and would take care of it. We have, like I said earlier, Robert Bruin is the director of public works, and he'll bend over backwards to take care of anybody. So I'll certainly look into it.
Bernie, same question for you.
My question is, why can't Republic do that? If you have it in their contract that they're supposed to make sure the trash is picked up, then that's what they should do. Now, we understand renters leave things, but again, we're forcing our public works to do more when we're actually paying somebody else to do it. So, again, that's something that we need to look at. Like I said, I'm not aware of all the particulars of this, but this is something as mayor that I really want to look at and look at some options of what to do.
Gentlemen, that concludes all of the prepared statements. Mike, you have some.
Yeah, they zipped through the questions pretty fast, guys. I've been doing this for almost 30 years, and this is the first time we haven't had the flag on them for going over the limit. So we'll take a couple of questions from the audience. So if anybody's got a question or two, if you raise your hand. Yes, sir.
Regarding transparency, I live on South Broadway across from that house that was demolished this spring. And I just didn't get transparency regarding that project. For example, I talked to David on a Friday. And again, like Bernie said, sometimes things come up with the city that people just didn't know were going to happen until they actually happen. So I just wanted to find out about that house and why it was torn down. So I talked to David on a Friday, and he told me it was going to cost about $1 million to renovate it.
I need you to step up.
Okay.
I guess I have hearing issues. I can't understand you.
So regarding the house on South Broadway near Garth Elementary School that was demolished, that at one point the city bought the house and they were going to turn it into city council offices or city offices while the city hall was renovated. And that was right across the street from my house. And it was just like Bernie had said, sometimes these projects come up, such as Republic, that you don't get a lot of advance notice about. And so you're surprised when they come up and you want to find out what's going on. So I called city council about the house. They'd already made the decision to demolish it. When the last you heard was that they were going to renovate it. So I talked to David Lesby on the phone on a Friday. They'd already had an order to demolish it. They had signed that order on Monday. So he told me, that, if I recall correctly, it was going to be about $1 million to renovate it was the cost. And I talked to the mayor on Monday, and the price suddenly had gone up to $1.5 million. So in terms of transparency, I filled out a public records request to find out what were the details of this cost, and I got back a response about an asbestos project that cost $2,000. But I got nothing back about the cost and how these costs for this house. So I did what David said. I filled out a public records request, and I got nothing back about this $1.5 million cost that they claim. That's my question.
So I guess this question is just for me, but that's fine. We'll take that on. Is it Dan Holman? Yeah. He sent us a very lengthy email, and instead of typing and trying to reply back to an email, I called you and tried to explain the situation to you. And I want to share that message here tonight. If you all remember, a long time ago, there was an Ashland station on the corner of Clayton and Broadway. That Ashland station went away. Lot sat empty for a number of years. Speedway came to town. They were interested in the lot. Didn't happen. Walgreens was interested in the lot. That didn't happen. And then a local developer was getting ready
These
to
are
build.
two different lots we're talking about. There's
Correct.
two
I'll give
lots
you-
on the, I'm talking about the, okay?
Yeah. Local developer was going to build an apartment building on this particular lot, and they had to do an analysis on the stormwater, because that area has been prone to flooding, although we've tried to mitigate that upstream with the Bradshaw farm, and that has helped, but there's still some more work to be done. So, when the apartment building stepped aside, I said, hey, this is a great opportunity for the city to acquire that particular lot, so that we don't have something that's gonna be there unattractive for generations to come. So I got a hold of the property owner, and he was willing to sell it to us for the exact same price that he was selling to the developer for, $125,000. Short time later, we decided to approach the property owner to the left that had the house. There was a house there. It had been condemned, a lot of drug activity, shootings had taken place right across the street from you. So the mayor asked me to negotiate with that particular property owner, whom I didn't really know that well. I don't know that I'd ever met him, but I did. I negotiated that price as well. The two lots combined, the council, by the way, just so you'll know, we voted 8-0 on the first transaction, and then I believe it was 7-1, if I'm not mistaken, on the second one. So that's a pretty strong support to purchase a piece of property. Our goal, our hope was that we could fix up that house, bring it, restore it back. But we brought in multiple contractors, we brought in engineers, we brought in architects, consultants, just to take a look, to tell us what we've got here. They said you'd be better off to tear it down and rebuild. Well, we don't really want to rebuild on that particular lot. So we said, let's utilize it as a park and a place to put some underground stormwater detention. At the end of the day, we've got about 1.3 acres of prime real estate on that corner, straight across from you, that we've got $375,000 in. If you're not happy with it, we'll flip it. That's what I'm pretty good at that. We can double our money, we can triple our money if the neighborhood's not happy. I think they're happy. You're the only person that I've heard complain about this. I know you've got on a very nice shirt.
I'm just asking about the transparency.
Well, there's
of the
transparency.
cost.
I mean, I called you. I mean, what more could I do? I mean, I can't call
Well,
everybody.
wait,
I called you,
I sent the
and I answered your
questions.
questions, and I did exactly what I'm doing tonight. You weren't satisfied. You still aren't. You're obviously here tonight to agitate me, and it's not working.
No.
Bernie, do you want to?
Well, again, I don't know much about that, so I'm gonna stay on that dark side.
Okay, anybody else? Yes, sir.
You made reference to how fast Georgetown is growing. And one concern that I repeatedly hear in the daily conversation, I think it may be a national problem here locally, is housing. There are, well, I think, 3 apartment complexes that are being built currently. As fast as Georgetown is growing, what plans do you have or would like to have to address the housing shortage?
Well, that's where you get with planning and zoning. And with planning and zoning, you're gonna figure out as to where they are going with that. And come up with a way which, growth-wise, is that a good location to have that? And if so, is it gonna benefit being in that particular spot? And making sure that the services that is needed for that complex doesn't put a strain on anything else where we cannot service or slow down anything.
Well, we've taken steps. As I said earlier, we partnered with the county on many projects, and we partnered again with the county to hire a housing coordinator. And we've actually offered that person a job. I believe that person's waiting to see how this election goes. They know that I support this effort, and There are plenty of grants that we can go after and try to obtain. We've done that in downtown Georgetown. I'll give you a real quick example. The TAP grant, which is a Transportation Alternatives Program grant, which is on the viaduct. We have the oldest bridge in the state of Kentucky. It's a masonry bridge. It's a dry stack bridge. It costs about $1.5 million to renovate that bridge. We have obtained $1.2 million in grants. Only cost in this community $300,000. That's a great deal. We're going to continue to do those kinds of things with the housing coordinator. We can work with developers and builders whom I know and encourage them. There are programs that this coordinator is familiar with to give them the incentive or motivate them to accommodate some affordable housing within their project. And I'll give you a quick example. There may be, if they're building, they're developing, they're going to build 100 homes, maybe 5% of those homes could be more affordable homes that are scattered, that are sprinkled throughout the community. That's just one option. The other option would be for the city to maybe acquire some property. We could potentially develop the property ourselves and save on the infrastructure cost, the development cost, and create some affordable lots for citizens here in Georgetown.
David, following up on that gentleman's question, this will be for both of you. David, you go first. How familiar are you with the comprehensive plan update, and how important do you believe such a plan is?
The plan is critically important to our community, and no, that plan has not been presented to us. The public has been working on it, and they have encouraged the public to come and get involved. With me running for mayor, I stayed away from that. There are other council members that served on those committees, but we thought it was best that I step back and let them bring the plan to us. But it is critically important.
Bernie?
I just want to make sure that on this comprehensive plan, and he did mention that as long as we have citizens that are able to come to this meeting and find it out on this comprehensive plan and be able to have some input. Again, I'm not aware too much about this comprehensive plan, but I am hoping that once it's been done and presented, that we can actually let the public know what we are doing with that plan.
Yes, sir.
Briefly state before I ask my question. Mayor Prather and the city council have done a good job in keeping the tax rate in Georgetown lower than other counties. At this past legislative session, the General Assembly passed legislation where counties and cities will be able to raise revenue by raising taxes. So I want to know your position on that and how that would impact the citizens in Georgetown.
Honestly, I'm not specifically familiar with which legislation that might be, but I can tell you just recently we lowered your property tax rate from 0.65 to 0.64. So, you know, as long as you're a property owner in this community, the county did the same thing just recently, and that's been the benefit of living here in Georgetown would be the low tax structure that we have as a community. Certainly from a city perspective.
Again, that is correct that, you know, we do have a lower tax rate. I get that, but I want to keep that way. And I want to make sure that before we decide to raise taxes or anything, we need to make sure we find other ways of revenue so that doesn't happen, so we can keep it that way.
In the back, I'd like to say this is an appreciative statement and a question, but with interlocal agreements and with services that you all have at your disposal here, and just from my heart, who makes mayor this year for Georgetown affects the safety bill and standing ground. The fiscal court and Judge Covington and Mayor Prather and the council has always been good about bringing us into interlocal agreements, bringing us into things that will help us. Georgetown, a great example is the vacuum truck you have, the street sweeper. Standing around can't afford that.
Right.
But you all allow us to use it, and we really appreciate that. Will you all continue that if you take office?
100%. We have a history of trying to help our neighbors here in the county. Fire trucks, I believe fire truck was recently,
Mayor Prather gave us an air system, it was great.
Yeah, and, run the sewer line to Sadie'ville, was a huge benefit to Sadie'ville, and I know there's some additional work that needs to be done there, but that's what it's all about, working with county government, working with Stanker Graham, working with Sadie'ville. I mean, this is home, this is our community, and I will definitely continue that.
I will also do that, because I think that's important, that we want everyone in this community, in this county, to have an opportunity to be successful and also have an opportunity to live a good life. Thank you for that.
One more question.
Bernie, you go first on this question.
Ma'am?
Okay, as chair of the Parks and Rec Board, I get asked this question often, so I ask you all. Would you consider taking the Ed Davis Learning Center away from the Parks and Rec, from under that umbrella, and moving it completely under city government? Why or why not?
Well, again, I'm not too familiar with that, Ms. Overstreet, as to that. First, you look at what is the benefit of having Ed Davis Park there, and are we able to service that group and also open it up? I'm even talking about maybe extending with revenue a community center that can be added on to that, so we can have a greater outreach for our kids in that area.
David?
I guess what comes to mind right off would be some of the improvements. We received some ARPA funding, as you all may know, and we had a committee put together on the council, and we ended up contributing or donating $1.1 million to some of the local nonprofits here in our community. And Ed Davis Learning Center, I believe they received about $100,000. And if they haven't started, they're going to start soon. I walked the property not too long ago, just to kind of freshen up on what was there. And it needs attention. I've said it. There's a lot of deferred maintenance. And I'm not sure $100,000 is going to take care of all the problems, quite honestly. I think more will need to be contributed. As far as the structure goes, I mean, that's, those are things that require a lot of deliberation and a lot of understanding. It's tough to sit here right now and just say yes or no to that question, but it's certainly one that I'd be glad to better understand.
Okay, gentlemen, we're into closing statements now. You will both receive 5 minutes to make your closing statements. David Lusby, you go first.
I want to thank Mr. Jenkins for agreeing to participate in the forum this evening, David Thompson for moderating, Mike Scoggin, the Georgetown News Graphic, the Scott County Public Library for hosting this event tonight. We must continue to try to build upon our success from the leadership of our previous mayors, plural, Mr. Barney, who's not here tonight, and the council members. Georgetown is a great place. Georgetown has been fiscally responsible, and I will continue this responsibility. Georgetown is a lovely community to live, work, and play. Since the announcement that Toyota was coming to Georgetown in December of 1985, the trajectory has changed forever. We said that earlier. But one thing that hasn't changed is the people's love for this community and the pride that we take in its appearance. And while many communities in Kentucky are struggling, Georgetown is thriving. We have an award-winning Parks and Recreation program. When I took office as a new council member, as I said earlier, our fire department had an ISO rating of 4, and it's down to a 2, which helps reduce insurance premiums for everyone in the community. Our police, fire, and EMS services are also first class and answer life-saving calls daily. We recently invested $12 million to improve and rebuild the 911 system along with our partners, county government. We instituted curbside recycling, which have been a goal for many years, and our public works department is second to none. We also contributed $1.1 million to local nonprofits this year through the ARPA funding program. Our Lanes Run business park is growing, with Country Boy Brewing as one of our staples, and the recent announcement of Blue Run Spirits Distillery, which is a $55 million project that will bring tourists from Kentucky's Bourbon Trail into Georgetown to stay in our hotels and dine in our restaurants. The business park has already created 830 jobs for Georgetown. I have the experience and the skills to manage the city effectively, efficiently, and transparently. In my 29 years on the council, I have witnessed and have been part of Georgetown's successes. I have also been there to address the difficult times, especially in 2008, 9, and 10, when the housing and the stock markets crashed, leaving many communities and towns on the verge of bankruptcy. We navigated those challenging times and learned from those experiences. As a result, we made adjustments to the budget, managed our finances, restructured our debt, and lowered the interest rate, resulting in significant savings for the city taxpayers. Georgetown expects and needs an experienced, capable, effective leader because our community is an economic driver, making Kentucky a better place to live and raise a family. I know we all love this community. There's no doubt about that. However, this is not a time for Georgetown to require a learning curve to slow down our positive momentum. I will be ready on the first day I'm in office to lead Georgetown into the future. I have a history of getting along and working with City Council and the past mayors, and I will continue to work with our strategic partners and to continue to strengthen that cooperation. In addition, I pledge to work with small and large businesses to recruit more like-minded organizations into this community. Like the mayors that have come before me, I want to make Georgetown a better place to live, a better place to raise a family, a better place for businesses to do business, and a better place for our visitors to visit. Finally, I'd ask for the people's vote here tonight. I am honored to be here, and I will continue to work tirelessly for this community. I will continue to ensure that we are financially stable, and I will continue to improve upon the many successes that Georgetown has today and even a better tomorrow. Thank you.
Although I may not have the experience of David Joseph, but it doesn't mean that I can't do this particular job. I have 46 years in education, as a teacher and also as an administrator. I have seen and talked to people, like I said earlier, I raised a lot of kids. I love this city. I love this community. That's what brought me here, and that's what made me stay here. Yes, it might be a learning curve for me, but I learned as a first-year teacher. I learned as a first-year official. I learned that surrounding yourself with good people, getting community involvement, engaging people, a lot can be done. Make no mistake about this. November the 8th is a very important day for this community. You're going to elect the next leader for this community. And we shouldn't take that lightly. I will be transparent. I will communicate with the public. I will come up and try to find inventive ways to get businesses in here that will be family oriented. Something for kids. As an educator, I see a lot of our kids on the streets because no one takes the time to ensure that they are where they should be and having something to do. Years ago, I ran the city pool here. Most of you know what that was. It was a self-led pool. It was a community pool. It didn't matter what your social, economic background was. It brought people together. It was a place where kids could be safe. You paid $1, $1.50, and we babysit them for 7 hours. That's why it was the greatest babysitting job in the world. And our kids loved it. Some of your kids was there. We need that now. We need something for our kids. We need something where we can help our businesses who have been here for, like fathers and other small businesses, so they can continue to grow here. We need to make sure that if we are growing, that our infrastructure is growing, that our services is not interrupted. On November 8th is a very important day for all of us. We have to ensure that this community continues to be the community it is. I'm that person. Even though I may be lacking some of the experience of that, I am still the person that can help Georgetown. I have no problem listening to you. My doors will be open. You can talk to me, whether it be in the grocery store, in the office, wherever. Because it's about people. I am a we person, not a me. And I'm going to do whatever it takes so Georgetown can continue to be one of the most popular cities that you ever want to be a part of. I want this city to be a place where people can come and go and enjoy themselves. I'm not worried about the election. I'm not worried about the next election. Like I mentioned earlier, I am worried about down the road. As an educator, when my kids left my classroom, I wanted to make sure that they were active participants later down the road. I'm in. I can do this job. And I'm hoping that I get your vote. Number 8. My name is Bernie Jenkins, and I am and will always be the people's mayor for Georgetown.
Gentlemen, on behalf of the Georgetown Youth Graphic and the Scott County Public Library, thank you all for your time. Thank you for your commitment, and best of luck in the election. And to all of those attending, as they both said, come November the 8th, we hope now that you have a greater insight into both the candidates for mayor, and you will make sure to exercise